Today is the Solemnity of Saints Peter and Paul, and we tend to think of these figures as great pillars of the faith, which they are, right? They're the leaders of the apostles. Peter is the rock upon which the church was built. But as we celebrate their solemnity today, there's another aspect of their lives that I want us to consider, and that is, before they were great saints, these men were both great sinners. I mean, think about it. What's the worst sin that you could probably imagine? Something like murder, right? Well, that was St. Paul. That was St. Paul. He was a great persecutor of Christians in the very early days of the church. Now, we don't know if he actually took anyone's life with his own hands, but he was certainly responsible for the deaths of many, many Christians by preaching his message of persecution. In fact, we see in the book of Acts, in the account of the martyrdom of St. Stephen, that Paul was there. He was there holding the cloaks of those who were throwing the stones at Stephen. And it says that Paul was consenting to his death. So even if he didn't pick up a stone and throw it himself, he was certainly guilty of taking the life of St. Stephen and who knows how many other early Christian martyrs. But yet, God called him to repentance, to conversion, and then called him to greatness. He called him to preach the good news of Christ to the Gentiles. St. Peter, same thing, right? As a Christian, one of the worst sins that we can imagine is the abject denial of Christ. And Peter did that. He denied even knowing Christ, not once, but 3 times. And yet, God called him to repentance, to conversion, and to greatness as the leader of the early church, as the head of the apostles. And so, there's a message there for all of us because all of our lives are reflected in that story. We're all sinners. We've all done things that we're not proud of. We've all done things that are contrary to God's will. Maybe not as grievous as murder or denial of Christ, but every sin is still wrongdoing. And no matter what we've done, God is calling us to repentance, to conversion, and also to greatness, So if you're watching this video today and maybe you're away from the church because something in your life you feel is unforgivable, because there's something that you've done, some sin that you feel is keeping you from the church, that's keeping you from that relationship with Christ, take comfort in the examples of Paul and Peter and let them inspire you to follow them not only in their sin, but to follow them in their repentance, in their conversion, and then follow them all the way to greatness. God is also calling you to be a saint. Praise be Jesus Christ.